living in the final chapter. When I wrote this book, I wrote a book a while back called Living in the Final Chapter. It was one of my first books I ever wrote. And so I'm going to do a short teaching, about 5 minutes, and I'm going to be teaching on living in the final chapter of human history, how it is that we're living in the prophecies of the book of Revelation. I'm going to walk through some of these prophecies. I'm going to walk through the prophetic timeline, so that many people believe the first parts of the book of Revelation are the first parts of the book of Revelation are really dealing with the churches. Then many people believe this is the rapture of the church. Now, some people believe that the rapture is after the tribulation, during the middle of tribulation. 3 different beliefs. I'm not going to get into that, but many people believe that we'll be raptured there. And then Jesus is doing a rebuking in these 4 churches. These churches are churches that existed, but they're also churches that they're the historical church. They're the church of throughout the ages. The church throughout the ages. And then we see the judgment. We see vile judgment. We see bold judgment. Really, it's about the judgments of Jesus, the judgments of the Lamb. We see that during the end times, what we see is that there will be a 7-year tribulation period. We see that that's what that's about in the book of Revelation, that timeline. And then during that first 3.5 years, we get that prophecy called Daniel's 70th week's prophecy in the book of Daniel. It talks about seven years broken up into 3.5 and 3.5. The first 3.5 will be bad, but not as bad as the last 3.5. The last 3.5 will be so bad that the Bible says if the days were not shortened, there will be no flesh saved. That's how bad the last 3.5 years are. The first 3.5 years are really the Antichrist building his kingdom, but he's not known at the time. He will not be known until the last 3.5 years of the tribulation. That's when he'll be known. That's when he'll, reveal to the world who he is. In the middle of the 3.5 years, he'll go into the rebuilt third temple. There will be a rebuilt third temple. This rebuilt third temple will have Jew and Gentile worshiping together in that third temple. They'll be worshiping there together. In the middle of that 3 years, he'll break it. He'll say, "I am God. I am the Messiah that you've been waiting for." Now, many people believe that the Antichrist will be Muslim. He will be Muslim. There's a lot of teaching in the Muslim Quran about the end times. The Muslims also believe in the end times. And so Iran is a Muslim nation, and it's the center of Bible prophecy, and it's the center of news. Right now, there's a war going on that's very end time, that's very prophetic, between Israel and Iran. Iran was just, their prime president was killed. And so many people believe the Mahdi will be the Antichrist. I'm starting to believe that because in the scriptures it says during that time Christians will be persecuted. Some of them will be killed. People who are alive on the earth during that time. Many people believe it'll be people who were left there that were not raptured. They'll be beheaded for the witness of Jesus. The only religion that still beheads people today is Islam. Islam still believes in beheading people, and they still do it in this time. They still do it in the middle of the first 3.5 years. Also, the people will see 2 witnesses that will rise up. And so Iran eventually at the end of days will go against Israel. There'll be a war of Gog and Magog. During the last 3, there'll be a religious institution, a false prophet that'll rise up with the Antichrist. Many people believe he'll be Muslim. He'll be connected to some type of rebuilt Roman Empire, but he'll also unite, believe Muslims to attack and take over the world. Not take over the whole world, but 10 kings, 10 nations will be represented. I believe it could be East and West represented. In that Western nations that have come together and Eastern nations, there'll be some type of calamity, probably a war that'll precede him, some type of economic fallout that'll cause the Antichrist to rise up. He will be a man. He will not be a machine. Many people teach he'll be a machine. He will not be a machine. He will be a man. The Bible teaches that. Some people believe he will have no respect for women, because it actually says he has no respect for women. So he's either Muslims or he will be gay. He will be a evil dictator. and he will be very powerful. So many people believe that. So what are other things that we'll know about him? Then at the end of the tribulation, he'll come back. Jesus will come back, destroy the Antichrist, set up the millennial reign of Christ. The Antichrist will be bound for 1,000 years. Then once that 1,000 years is over, the Antichrist will be released, and those that were survived the tribulation, who repopulated the earth under the rulership of Jesus, who will physically reign on the earth, he will come back and lead the entire world against Israel, against Jesus again, and Jesus will destroy him and set up his eternal kingdom forever and ever and ever. So that's what the timeline is. That's what it is to live in the final chapter. I believe we're living in that time. Every sign is there. Wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, famine, increase of knowledge is all happening now. Israel is at the center of it all.